Hey guys, it's Coach Ro from RocioFlores.com, and today's topic is tough love versus positivity. This is going to be a conversation about the difference between the two terms and the two approaches in the coaching, personal development, business world, and it can be applied to yourself, so you can watch this if you're just trying to figure out what's best for yourself as well. Before I get started, I want to ask you guys to subscribe to my newsletter. I only send it out once a month, and each month I just share all the posts that I've done, a little bit about what's going on in my life, and a little bit to help you with your life. And you also get a ton of freebies when you first subscribe, so make sure that you get on that list. So to get started, I guess I want to talk about what I mean by the terms tough love and positivity, and I'm not going by any official definitions, but more the ideologies behind it. So for example, tough love, you think of a boot camp kind of situation where somebody's being mean to you and yelling at you and making you do things. And positivity, you think of all the woo and the, gurus telling you about positive affirmations, the secret, law of attraction. Positivity, positive thinking actually has a lot of basis in science and scientific work. So there's things like positive psychology, motivational psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, and how they use the changing of your thoughts. And with motivation, there's a lot that goes into assessing whether or not this whole idea of positivity actually helps people become motivated. And so what I mean by tough love means being tough with people and just straight up being direct and telling them what they need or don't need. And with positivity, it's how you frame it. So a lot of it has to do with how you frame the thing that you're trying to say. And so when you're trying to assess whether somebody needs one or the other, and when you're trying to assess if you need one or the other, I want you to look at, one, how the person's motivated, how they stay accountable, and how they take action. So the first thing will be, I want to make sure that I say that they're not opposites. So somebody who always needs tough love is not always going to need it. Sometimes they need that positive encouragement, and same goes with the other person. Sometimes they need the tough love. And people aren't always going to assess that for themselves. You can ask somebody, what helps you take action? Do you like people who tell you that to do these things in a certain way, or do you need more of an encouragement, just positive, ask people if you want, assess it based on how they respond to your questions. One thing that people don't understand maybe about coaching is that a whole large part of it is just asking people questions, and through the information that they give you, asking more questions that delve deeper and deeper into the point where the people can come up with the answers themselves. Because you don't want to tell people what to do. You want to help them figure it out. So when it comes to motivation, I guess the reason that I think of those two approaches differently is because let's say that when you're trying to motivate them to do a specific thing or to be more motivated in general. So a lot of times it has to do with like procrastination or with, being a more goal-oriented person. And sometimes you need to give them direct commands. Do they like that? Do they like being told, try this, do this? Some people don't. Some people like to come up with their own answers, and they like feeling like they're the ones that came up with that answer. So ask them, can I give you some suggestions? Or you can straight up say, I'm going to give you these suggestions. Tell me which one do you think that you can do this week. Sometimes people need to feel like they're being given a choice, but at the same time, they need to make the choice. Same with kids. So ask them do they like suggestions, or do they want encouragement to make their own suggestions? So somebody on the more positive end, you may be thinking, how about you wake up every morning and you think of a couple of ways that you can make your day better today. And so that way the person wakes up with more of a feeling of I have freedom to motivate myself today, right? And so then they come up with good ways. You may have not come up with those ways. You may have not ever told them to do those things. But if it gets them to do what they need to do, it doesn't really matter what you think. So when it comes to motivation and trying to get people to act, you have to kind of assess, do they need to be given a direct command? And maybe the way you say it, the tone makes a big difference, versus do they just kind of need more of the encouragement and inspiration for them to do it themselves? When it comes to accountability, and accountability is going to have to do with making sure that you make sure that they do it. So motivation, you know, it's all great if you get up and you have the motivation and then you don't do it. Something needs to hold you accountable. Usually when people talk about accountability, they think of tough love, and that's where there's a negative connotation that to be held accountable means that somebody's going to be mean to you, or you're going to be punished if you don't do it. That's not necessarily true for most people. I'm not somebody who responds very well to punishment or to the idea that I'm going to be punished. If anything, that would make me not do it. I like positive reinforcement. I really like when somebody says, you did a good job with this, or when they give me real information like, you know, you did a good job with this, but how about trying this, or, you know, this could have used some help. But when it's framed in the, well, you should have known this, or why didn't you do this, those, to me, it makes it harder to be motivated for the next time. And so some people really respond that way. Some people need to be told exactly what went wrong and to be demanded of. So they want somebody who's like, why didn't you do this? Like, what caused you not to do this? You know, what got in the way? Was that a good reason? Well, if that was a good reason, was it better than this? Or, you know, some people need that tough tone to make them really be like, okay, I don't want that again. I'm going to make sure I do it. On the other hand, some people need more of a positive encouragement to make sure that they do it. When it comes to action, you need to understand first how a person learns and how a person does things. So what I mean by that is, do they need to, in order to take action, are they going to need to take other steps to get there? Like, are they somebody who needs to have certain things in place to act? So they need to act in order to act. I'm like that. So in order to do any project, I first have to sit down. I have to plan. I have to assess which things I'm going to have a difficult time with, how much time it's going to take. And I need to do those things. I can't just start, because I just won't do it, because I'll get unmotivated when I get to a point that's difficult and I haven't thought of it. Some people are the opposite. If they spend too much time thinking about it, they're not going to do it. So you need to understand how they go about doing that and how they learn in order to get things done. And that way you know whether you should be direct with them, or whether you just have to give them encouragement, or if you just have to give them positive thoughts throughout the process. So if somebody's struggling, I'm trying to think of like an idea. Let's say somebody's struggling with waking up early in the morning. Something simple like that. Some people maybe just need to be given maybe they're struggling with how they feel about waking up maybe they're struggling with stress. They hate their job. They're having relationship issues. And that's really what comes down to why they're not waking up early and they're choosing to be late every day. So maybe you just have to give them some positive affirmations to do in the morning. You need to tell them, remember, you're just lucky to be alive. Be grateful that you have a life to work on, that you have a relationship that other people don't have. You know, sometimes you just have to reframe the way they're thinking about their world. Sometimes people are the opposite end. They've got a great life. They got all these positive things and they just have a bad attitude. Sometimes you just have to straight up tell them, dude, you have this, and you have this. People would kill for that, and you're allowing your emotions to take over your actions. And sometimes people need to hear that they're the ones getting in the way of their own progress, right? So assess, based on, as you get to know people, you want to assess kind of what's keeping them from taking action. And I mean, each person's different, so you really do have to get to know the person, ask them questions, and then you'll find out when if you tell somebody something in a tough way and they'll respond to you they'll either become avoidant with you, so they all of a sudden they don't want to keep going, or they will become confrontational. So there's two ends of it. You'll see either way. That means that approach didn't work. And sometimes they'll just be like, oh my God, thank you so much for saying that to me. I didn't even think about that. And I really needed somebody to say this to me. And sometimes they just need positive. And the thing about that too is you don't want to use one or the other. You can use both. So let's say somebody's doing something bad, and you can approach it in a tough love, like, have you thought of just not doing that? And, with an example or whatever, and doing this. And then they'll respond, well, I haven't, or yeah, or I guess, and then once they've responded and kind of giving you some of their reasoning of what was keeping them from just acknowledging that, then you can be like, I understand where you're coming from. I know that it can be difficult to get there, and I know that it's hard to admit this, blah, blah, blah. Or you can do it the other way around, where you're trying to get them, but they're not somebody who responds well to kind of a negative energy. So you can start off with the empathy and be like, I understand that it's really difficult when you're dealing with this, but have you thought about this? And, I know somebody that it helped, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they're like open and receptive to your information. So, again, just do it by ear, but also make sure that you're not doing it randomly and that you don't just take a tough approach just because. Make sure you're not framing people based on what you think about them. So if it's a guy and they look manly, you think they're going to take tough love versus a dainty girl like me who you think needs positivity. No. Actually get to know the people before you try to put them into those boxes. And then don't keep them in those boxes, because sometimes people change, and as they get tougher and they get stronger, they need more tough love or they need more encouragement. So just think about those two as not so much as separate things, but as two things that work together very well. Hopefully this helps you in your coaching or your business, personal development world. Or if it doesn't, if you're kind of still struggling with the concept, or you think that you want to add something to it, just comment below and then we can have a conversation about it. Or make sure you go to my website and we have a chat site set up for me to coach on there. So I hope you liked the video. I hope it helps you, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day. Goodbye.